Welcome, everybody. It's good to have you all here, and good to see the networking that always goes on. That's one of the real highlights of this get-together, and we're glad that you all took advantage of that and can take advantage of that. I want to start off with what I always start off with, and that's the people who support this as sponsors, and we're talking about Shaheen Chevrolet. Ralph, give the wave. We got a table of them. Good. Jason, good. Dean Transportation and Black Car Service and everything else. Where you at, Dean? Sorry, Courtney. All right, Greater Lansing Sports Authority is here, and I know, Jack, you're here as part of the CVB representing. It's great to have you all here and all the great stuff you do for this area. Dominic Carbone, Hungry Howies. Come on. Dom, where are you at? There you go. What do you like more than Hungry Howies, right? I mean, Capital Region International Airport, too. Nicole, I saw you come in. Where are you at? Where are we at? Oh, sorry. Okay. Good. Good to have you here. And we're going to get a little report from you later, too. And also, of course, this wonderful facility, Eagle Eye Golf and Resort, and the wonderful job they do. And then our media partners who have been with us a long time, Channel 10. So we want to thank them a great deal as well. One of the things we like to do is, let's hear it for Channel 10. Okay, so now you know that's the Channel 10 table, all right? One of the things we like to do here is what we call a community roundtable, and quite frankly, we always have some speakers that are going to stand up for a minute or two to kind of bring us up to date. One of the things we do like to do is if you have an announcement or something that's kind of regionally influential or something we should know about, hey, raise your hands. We'll bring the mic over to you because this get-together is all about us bringing each other up to date. So the first one up would be Shaheen Chevrolet, and I love it when Ralph gets up because you are kind of a barometer for not just auto sales, but kind of economic health.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Shaheen Chevrolet has had a great year. As everybody knows, 2016 was a great year for the automobile industry, but 2017 has also turned out to be a great year as well. Some of the trends that we're seeing is leasing. Leasing has become very, very important to our business, and we are about 60% lease penetration. So if you are in the market for a vehicle, whether it's a Chevrolet, I hope it is, but if it's not, take a look at leasing because with digital technology the way it is these days, it doubles every couple years. You can have a fresh car every 3 years, always be in warranty, never buy tires. But if you do need tires, Shaheen Chevrolet does sell tires as well. Our Quick Lube facility opened last year. You know, we're doing about 1,500 Quick Lubes a month, over 100 a day. And that's worked out very, very well for us as well. I'm glad to see that the coach is here. You know, it always seems that no matter what happens, if Michigan State wins, like they did last weekend, and like they do during the basketball season, business is very good. So go green. All
right, and next up is Dean Transportation, right next door here.
Good morning. My name is Nicole. I'm the general manager for Dean Trailways, and many of you, as I look around the room, we have transported in one fashion or another. We've had a great year this year. We really enjoy transporting the community members and working with the community on events and also helping out as we did when we took the supplies to Houston. So we appreciate all of your business. We're having a great year, and it was really fun bringing the football team home last weekend.
Well, thank you, Nicole. All right, and are you speaking for the Sports Authority? Here you go. Okay, Jack Scripsima, head of the Convention Visitors Bureau, and of course the Sports Authority is part of that.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jack Scripsima, president of the Greater Lansing Convention and Visitor Bureau, and that includes the Greater Lansing Sports Authority. We've had an incredibly historic year, both for conventions and for sporting events. This region is truly a great region for sports. We had our Sports Authority hosted over 84 events so far this year, bringing over 60,000 athletes to the region, hopefully many of them future Spartans. That included about 280,000 spectators, so they have an incredible impact on the economy of the region. Just to give you a couple of examples of some groups that we had recently, this year we served as the host for USA Hockey 18U National Championships, and they brought 36 teams from all over the country to our region. And this summer we hosted the Outdoor World Team Trials for U.S. Archery, and the youth winners went on to represent Team USA at the World Championships. So we have events throughout the year in basketball and volleyball, lacrosse, archery, wrestling. You name the sport, it happens here in Lansing. This truly is a great sports town. I'll send out a call to all of you. We're always looking for volunteers and sponsors for these incredible youth athletes. So please reach out to us if you have some interest. Visit our website at www.lansing.org. Thank you, Chris.
Great economic impact, and I think that's the most important thing. Thanks for the great job you folks do. And what's a better economic indicator than pizza sales? Dominic Carbone from Hungry Howies. Tell me about the pizza sales. Going well?
Yeah, thank you. Things are going better than very well. We're really happy how things have gone in Lansing. It is because of our great customers that we're allowed to do the things that we do in the community. We give away currently over 4,000 pizzas and coupons a year. And the difference it makes is, even for example, with the MLK Luncheon, they were getting about 150 letters sent in, and they've been working on it for years. We started giving away free pizzas, and the next thing you know, there are well over 1,000 children lighting letters for that weekend. So I want to thank everybody here, and hopefully we can keep going and getting back with a margin so we can even do more in the community. Thank you.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. You know, you look around the room, and like Jack Davis, who had to run because he's got another meeting, and Dominic, I think we sit on 26 boards together. You see who's impacting the community, and you certainly have. All right, Capital Region International Airport. There's always stuff going out there, and some pretty good numbers to report. Wayne?
Thank you. Wayne Seeloff, CEO of the Capital Region Airport Authority. I want to thank everyone in this area, in this region, for utilizing your local hometown airport. We appreciate that. Our numbers are up, and there's more utilization every month going on, so we appreciate that. A couple things to make you aware of. This week, we've got a TSA pre-check sign up. I think if you go online and sign up, you'll see that all the slots are filled, which is an amazing thing. But that doesn't mean that you're left out in the cold. You can still sign up as a walk-in, put in your information. It'll take you probably 4 or 5 minutes, and although the lines are not long because we're really efficient in Lansing, when you're at another airport flying back to Lansing, it'll help you get through that airport a lot quicker. So feel free to check that out. You can go to flylansing.com, and there's a link to get you to that. And before I sit down, I just want to again, remind you that we have the direct service through United, Delta, and American to Minneapolis, Detroit, Chicago, or Washington, D.C. And then we have seasonal direct service, international service to Cancun, Punta Cana, and also this year direct service from Lansing to Jamaica. So that service will start up right before Thanksgiving, or right before Christmas, and then end in April. So they got some great deals for trips. I hear it's going to be a really cold winter, so make sure you. Actually, some people told me that they won't let me look at the Farmer's Almanac, but I hear there's going to be a lot of snow. So at least take 3, 4, 5, or 7 days and enjoy yourself in somewhere that's warmer this winter. Again, thanks again.
Pretty. When you look out the window, Mexico's a pretty tough sail today. But trust me, when you're standing over that snow shovel, you'll remember. Is there anybody from Eagle Eye? And I always want to put them on here, and it's always hard to catch somebody because they're always reluctant to say much. But let me just talk on their behalf then. We do a lot of events out here, and a lot of people do a lot of events out here. Business out here is very good, but they do a lot of great stuff in this community as well in helping events with pricing and all that sort of thing. And I want them to get their plaudits. They're really doing a great job out here. So let's hear it for Eagle Eye. Anybody at Channel 10 other than the continual great broadcasting, right? That cover it? Okay. Okay, there you go. And also, they will accept advertising today? Okay, good. Today, tomorrow, whenever you can. Okay, so I saw Paula Cunningham way in the back with AARP. What'd you do? Did you get stopped at that table on your way? Okay. Paula, of course, as you know, is the CEO, the executive director of AARP for Michigan.
Hi. For those of you who don't know, Chris Holman is the volunteer president for AARP. And if you know Chris Holman or you know anything about him, then you know he's all about jobs. And there are 100,000 unfilled jobs in the state of Michigan. So Chris had this wonderful idea as the chair of the board and president of AARP to have employers take a look at older workers. Well, you've heard us talk about this program. It is now up and running. So any employers in the room who are looking for talent, AARP has 1.4 million members in the state of Michigan, and many of them, 50 years old, 60, 65, they retired early buyouts. They would love to get back in the workplace. The majority of them don't need insurance. They don't care about the health care. So we ask that you go to mytalent.org. Fill out the application. It's the MBDC website. Fill out the application if you're an employer. Put in the skill set that you need. And then we're working with MBDC and the Michigan Works offices, Capital Area Michigan Works and others, to do a skill match, to find out which older workers are out there. And I hate to even use the word older workers. They're so vibrant and so wonderful to work with these folks, and they know all about what office decor and ethics is all about. So please take a look at mytalent.org/employer. Fill out your skill set that you need for the job seeker, and AARP and Chris Holman and the rest of us will help you do that match to help find the jobs that are much needed in the state. Thank you.
Paula, thank you. Your words are too kind, and I appreciate having the idea, but you know what ideas are without implementation. So it's that great staff and Paula's people that have done a lot in that regard. And she'll verify that I lied about my age so I could serve. Somebody else was thinking that. Let me tell you just a little bit, because we're going to break now for lunch, and about what's going on. Sponsors are going to be called by their tables to have their pictures taken in the back with Tom. So that's simply a sponsor thing. When people are moving around, they're not leaving, they're not doing anything else. So just kind of ignore that, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes to do the presentation. I'll give you this reminder right now. Oh, Bob, you came in. Bob Trezise. Now look, Bob, 2 minutes is still 2 minutes, okay?
But I have something very important to tell you about Jim Harbaugh.
Hey, we already know.
Yeah, we do. Don't feel too sorry for him. He's still chalking up a lot of victories and wins. It just so happens to be during the off season for him. Oh my God, that's it? Okay, geez. That's it. Thank you very much.
All right, get a new writer, Bob.
I know. God. All right, so I'm not so good at jokes. Back to serious stuff. Thank you for all you're doing, Chris, here. This time next year, we're going to have $2 billion of construction going on in our region. I'm confident about that. That is a historic moment for our region. The Skyview is up and running. That's $90 million. The Center City, which LEAP put together with the City of East Lansing, is $132 million. The Oliver Towers was approved. That's an 8-story building vacant for decades. Marketplace 2 is underway. Scott Gillespie's building on Michigan Avenue. The Red Cedar project will soon be announced. There's a $500 million project that is very exciting to think about. The City Hall is going well. We have a fashion show coming up next week, medical device and bio industry announcements coming up. But I have 2 breaking announcements, actually. Breaking news, Chris, just for you and the small audience here. But so first of all, Our region is really on the cutting edge with regional cooperation and economic development. As you know, we're not only a regional agency at LEAP, but we have a City of Lansing contract, which makes us very united and unified, coordinated, and we're thankful to the LEDC. But tonight, the Ingham County Board of Commissioners, I believe, is going to vote on a final budget, which will include LEAP now running under a contract Ingham County's economic development as well. So it's really a breakthrough. The second piece of news is, I think everyone knows in GDP, gross domestic product, that in the nation, I don't know, it's been, you know, healthy, something like 1.8%, 2% on average. But in 2016, we just got the latest news, and our Lansing region scored a 4% increase in GDP for 2016, double the national average.
All right, congratulations. Bob, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Paige, where are you at? Come on. Wave your hand. Who's waving? Okay, stand up. Take that mic back there. So Paige will introduce herself, but this young lady has, I don't know, 1, 2 national championships under your belt, something like that. She played basketball at UConn. She's also the person who, and I want you to report on Summit, who took that pretty stagnant organization out on the west side and really has turned it into a great venture out at the Summit. So give us a little quick rundown.
Thank you, Chris. My name's Paige Sauer. I'm the general manager at the Summit Sports and Ice Complex and AIM High Sports. My family took it over almost 7 years ago, and we have definitely turned it around. We have about 1 million people come through our doors a year. We're full every weekend, which means we're filling up hotels, we're making restaurants busy. We have a lot of exciting events this year. I built a bar in the facility, so if you ever want to come by.
That doesn't surprise anyone, Paige.
So we do a lot for the community. We do everything. Our goal is to have kids from 3 years old all the way up to our adult leagues. So we value the community. We see ourselves as a community asset, and I have the best team ever. They're all sitting here at the table. Some of them have been with me since day one, and if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
Well, nice work out there. Thanks for doing that. Is there anyone else that has an announcement or anything to say? All right, very good. Then we're going to break for lunch. We'll be back in just a few minutes to hear from the most dynamic speaker we ever have here. He's the first one in our 18 years to come back for a second time. And look around the room, you can see the impact he has. But so you're going to really, truly, he is also our friend here in this community. And we're very fortunate because he's a big part of the community. And Tim's going to do the official introduction. But I just wanted to say these few words. I've known Tom a long time. He used to come on my morning show when Judd was a little too cranky to work with. And he did a lot of good for that program, and he's been a good friend for a long time. And I want to tell you, the guy that's going to speak to you here today is the same Youper that came down here in those days with the same core values and the same quality. And Tom, I'm appreciative of you not only speaking, but as a friend and a friend of this community. So with that, let me bring up another real friend of this community. And I know we got a Sparrow table out there, so they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But this is a guy who also not only is the Dean of Sports here, but he also does a lot in the community, in particular for Sparrow, with a lot of events he puts on, and doesn't get the credit he really should. He's really one of the benevolent guys in this area. And so I want to bring him up. He's been a friend a long time, too, and been a part of this whole luncheon series for many, many years. So please welcome our introducer today, Tim Stout.
Chris gave me 4 days' notice this time. This is the 18th year for this luncheon. It's amazing how much the community supports this. And it's always a great time and a wonderful time, as you know. You know, these days, my wife and I do a lot of traveling together. We're at that age where we have a little time to go travel. And I must tell you that it is amazing to me through the years, as much as we travel, overseas, domestically, and that, inevitably, something comes up about Tom Izzo where we go. 2 years ago, On her side of the family, we were in Columbus, Ohio at a wedding. I'll never forget this till the day I die. At the wedding, Ohio State had just won the national championship in football, and the wedding is all Buckeyes everywhere. So we had not seen a lot of her family for several years. So we're seated near the back of the church, and one of her cousins comes in draped in Ohio State everything, okay? And he's going to sit in the back of the church with us during the wedding ceremony. And he hadn't seen us in some time, and he's looking around where to sit, and he finds us. So he sits next to my wife, and I'm on the other side. We're reciting the Lord's Prayer, and he leans over her and says to me, and I haven't seen him in 10 years, he says, you know, if we had Izzo, the Buckeyes would really be good in basketball, and then goes back. And I said to my wife, I said, you know, I've heard everything now. I mean, that's the first thing he said to us in 10 years, leaning over during the Lord's Prayer. I mean, it's amazing to me where we go that it always comes up. And believe me, it's Michigan State basketball that tends to come up more than anything else. And I answer the same questions. No, he's not going to the NBA. Yes, he loves Michigan State. No, they're not going to have a down year. And yes, he's going to coach till he's 120. And today and every other day, he's going to tell you that he is not going to go that much longer, and I always say it's a complete lie, he's going forever, because he's born to coach. And I think the other thing is when you have, frankly, an Upper Peninsula, you know, that's where you're from, I think your values are a little bit different in that this is not the big time glamour for others. I mean, I think Tom relates to the common people just like Chris was saying. Over the years, he has come up with 2 quotes that I use wherever I go, wherever I speak, that are my favorite quotes. When President Clinton was here for graduation one year in the Breslin Center, Tom told the audience in front of the president that it was a big deal to him to be around achievers. And frankly, I believe that's why Tom has been here twice, because everybody in the room here is an achiever. That's why I like to do this. I like being around achievers. We all do. And I think that's a big part of his success, is that he's been around achievers. So that quote I use all the time. It's good advice for anyone. The other quote he has that I use everywhere, and it specifically works in my family with 3 grown boys, he says, the older parents become, the more stupid their kids think you are. And in my case, that absolutely is a quote that goes for all time. When I heard him say it the first time, when his kids were a little bit more in school, I said, man, I can attest to that. That's exactly the way they are. But like Chris says, he relates to the community. I mean, 14 years ago, my brother died on Saturday, and the Spartans played in Columbus on Sunday. And as the Spartans were leaving the floor with the win, my cell phone goes off, and Tom's on the line saying, how you're doing, I heard about your brother, and I can hear the Ohio State band in the background playing the Ohio State fight song in defeat, and Tom's on there worried, you know, how am I doing about losing my brother? But he does that for a lot of people, and everyone knows that. It's been a tough time because we lost Judd. Judd called me 2 weeks before he passed away. And so we're just shooting the breeze back and forth. And like he said to everybody and said all the time, my 2 greatest contributions to Michigan State will end up being Magic Johnson and Tom Izzo. And I think he always believed that. So I said, have you talked to him lately? He said, I haven't talked to him quite as much lately. And then he laughed and he said, I think he's sick and tired of me always criticizing him about his substitutions all the time. But at any rate, and I often wonder to myself, how would the community be different? And how would Michigan State have been different over the last 22 years for all of us had Judd not gone out of his way to make sure that Tom became the head coach? You can guess that all for yourself. Chris mentioned here this morning that this is Tom's 2nd appearance here. And I got to say, of all the milestones in his career, that's probably, if you're the first one to speak twice at the Greater Lansing Sports Business Luncheon, you must have quite a resume. So with that said, they told me, Tom, you hold this down and the light's supposed to come on. Chris, you may want to look at this. Why would I know anything about microphones? At any rate, this is the one for Tom here to use. Please welcome, 23 years now as Michigan State's coach, Tom Izzo. Tom?
I don't know. One of these works. This one doesn't. Another Chris Holman screw up.
Not done yet. I got the mic, I'll do the speech.
All right, I'll just put this one down here, and so it doesn't get in the way. I could have used that one. But I will say this. I do appreciate Tim. I've known him forever, known Chris forever. I guess I've known a lot of people forever. I've been here 34 years. This is my 23rd year as a head coach. I spent 12 years with Judd, so it'll be my 35th year. And, I did speak at his funeral on the, only Judd could do this. He wrote his own obituary. He did everything himself. So his funeral was like 3 weeks after he died, or 4 weeks. Jim, you were there, and it was, I said, only Judd could do this, Recruiting wasn't his favorite thing, and when you have the Notre Dame football game here, it's the biggest recruiting day of the year for all our teams. But even in death, he didn't give a damn about recruiting. He just planned his funeral on the day of the Notre Dame game, and that was it. So I went out there, and it was an interesting trip. I went out there with Gregory Kelser and Edgar Wilson. We just took a couple of us out there because so many people were booked with the game, and I said there, and I mean this, 12 years with Judd, I have a straight ticket to heaven. I can do just about anything I want. I'm still going up there somehow, some way, shape, or form. But I said I was thinking about God when I was talking, and I had him for 12 years. We all had him for 90 years. And now he's got him for an eternity. I don't know if he knew what he bit off, but I don't know if he bit off more than he can chew, if you ask me up there. So 12 years with him was incredible. But I look at, what do we do that you do? What do we do in sports that you do in business? And Tim's right. I learned a big word in the UP. My vocabulary is 4 words and under, as most of you know. Sometimes a good 4-letter word, 4 words and under, sometimes a bad one. But I stick to that pretty much. But the one word I learned was osmosis. And when you get in a group like this, through osmosis, you get better. Things travel, you get to meet different people, you get to see people who've had success a lot longer than I've had success. And I think that's the name of the game. I loved talking to the people that have withstood the test of time. The object that we all have is not to have a good year. The object is not to have a good team or a good season. It's really to have, for mine, a good program. For yours, a good company. That means that is it sustainable? Is it grown? Has it been developed? And we have some things in common. You have a quarterly statement usually, whether you're in business, bankers, whatever field you're in, and I've got a scoreboard. I learn about you once a quarter. You learn about me every damn second. We both have clients. Mine are called players. Your clients grow with you as you get older, and some stay young, or some are younger. Some get older right with you. As I get older, my clients always stay 17 to 22. So there's another area I got more problems than you got, is what I'm trying to tell you. The last one, though, is the real killer. I don't know anything about your business, once in a while, when you used to bring a rug by or something, I'd know about your business there, or some of you guys are bankers, lawyers, whatever your business is, and I don't really know anything about your business, but I'm smart enough to not try to tell you how to run your business. Now, on the other hand, you guys don't know a damn thing about my business, but you all tell me how to do it. Each and every day, Tim, each and every day. So I think we got some uniqueness to our philosophies here, your uniqueness to how we do business, but I still figure at the end of the day, mine ends up a little tougher than yours because of those 3 factors. Now, somebody's going to tell me why yours is tougher, and maybe when we get into some questions and answers, I'll listen to that. What is essential in both of ours? I think to create a championship organization, you got to have some leadership. You know, you got to have leaders. But the problem when we get to be the bosses, it's the head coach, it's the president of the company, and whatever reason you're the boss. Like you, for example, thought you were the head coach or the boss in your family, and that hasn't worked out so good. But most of the time, when you're the boss, you have a tendency to speak more and honestly talk down to people. You know, that's your job. And look where you put me. You put me on a podium, you know, and I've got to speak down to people, which brings me to another point, that if you wonder why I'm always yelling at my players, you know, you try being a foot shorter than most of the guys you're talking to in a small huddle. They're up there in rare air. I'm down here in normal air. It's hard for them to understand what I'm saying sometimes. So that was the problem there. So in the leadership, you know, I was just talking to our group here, and I said the biggest thing is getting trust nowadays. I mean, nobody trusts anybody nowadays. I mean, it's hard to trust people. And you think of all these 16, 17-year and 18-year-old kids that really, a lot of them have been raised differently. You know, we've had players from different countries, different parts of the country. It's difficult to mesh it all together sometimes. But you have some of those same problems. And I think the biggest way, and probably if you ask me what I do the best, I'd say I spend time. I spend time with my guys, you know. They're valuable to me. And when I spend time with them, I realize and appreciate, you know, the differences of each one of us. I mean, I'm from the UP, you know, and not a real worldly place in a lot of ways. And I had a lot of things to learn, you know. My assistant, Mike Garland, was the first African-American kid I've ever met, ever played against, you know, and that's why he's on my staff now, because he took care of me in college. And I still kept him now. You know, he was the first guy I hired when I got the job. There's a lot of loyalty in the UP. There's not a lot of loyalty in the country. And he brought it up. Judd was incredibly loyal to me. You know, I mean, there were times that I had some small jobs I could have left for. And he told me to just hang tight and stick around. And at that time, 20 years ago, I just said, yes, sir. You know, I didn't even think nothing of it, because he was the head coach. He was my mentor. Nowadays, the title doesn't mean as much. You know, the president, dad, mom, you know, we've all got to earn our stripes each and every year. And is that really so bad? You know, we make it a big deal, but is it really so bad? Because someone comes into my program, some freshman comes in, and I'm the head coach, and that means nothing to him. The title means nothing. The person in the title means a lot. And so you got to make sure that your employees, my players, understand that you're in it for them, with them, and you better understand this. I took a lot of pictures today with different groups. But as I look at where we are and what we did and what you're doing right now, the most important group was probably the people that got paid the least. Because I know how Alex is, he's cheaper than hell. So it was the people that are working here, the people that served you dinner, you know, and that is the way I look at a lot of things in life, you know. I wear a suit and stand on the sidelines and try once in a while to get along with an official, and that's hard to do. But I never took a shot, never got a rebound, never made an assist. Players play the game. You know, for the most part, employees run the company. You know, if you've got an employee-run company, and that's one of my other favorite sayings, Tim, a player-coach team is better than a coach-coach team. You know, if I was in business, it would be that way, you know, where I think an employee-run company is better than a coach or a president-run company, in all honesty. I often said, and I happen to be sitting with Ralph Shaheen, that if I owned a automotive dealership, I would try to spend at least one day a month back there when, you know, changing oil, one day a month, you know, in the paint department, one day a month, in the repair department, one day a month in the sales department. Because I think sometimes as we move up the ladder, we forget where we came from, you know? And Ralph, on the other hand, is too busy playing golf, so he's not there very often. But I mean, for the most part, that's what I would do if I ran his company, you know? But in all honesty, he's probably done a good enough job over the years that he has other people doing that. But if you really think about it, and you really think about how important it is to get people on board, you know, I always tell my guys I want them to have personal goals. You know, they're already Twitter fanatics, which I hate the social media. I mean, I make it plain and clear. I usually give a commercial every time I speak at every press conference. I hate it, and I'm starting to get more people agreeing with me. Now, some of you have to do it for your jobs, they say, and all this. You know, we just had a girl, Jamel Hill, in sports, who's a good friend of mine. Social media gets more people in trouble than anything I've ever seen. And it's because normally we'll say things behind a keyboard that we won't say in front of everybody, you know? And I think teaching a player that is a very difficult thing to do, because the longer this has gone on now, it went from a 3-4 year thing, now we're getting into years 7, 8, and 9, the more it's the norm for them. And so I try to do some things, and I would look at things you do in your company outings and different things. But we took a trip. I like to do a lot of team building things. We took a trip down to the Big Ten championship football game a couple years ago in December. We had an off weekend. It was right before finals, so I said to my guys, we're going to go down there. Got approval from the NCAA, jumped in a bus. As we started the ride, it was about 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I told my staff, I said, go back there and collect those phones. And so they collected the phones, and of course everybody was, Coach, you know, I can't tell you what they were saying, but they were saying a lot of things, and I just said to Mike Garland, I said, just let him go, you know, let it go for a minute. It wasn't 5 minutes, and those guys were talking and laughing and having the best time of their life, you know? And it was that way for 3.5 hours. And on the way back, I said, yeah, give them their phones, it's late, you know, but you never could hear a word in that bus. It wasn't because they were sleeping, it was because they were on the phone. So I think we got some problems, you know, that we have to figure out ways to deal with if we're gonna figure out how to get through to them. It reminds me that we have to, all of us have to change a little bit with the times, but we can't change our principles and how we do it. It reminds me of the great story of Judd Heathcote when we went to Australia that I might have told a few of you before, but who cares? That's what you get for having me a second time. We go to Australia, and Judd schedules his trip to Australia. We go 30 hours to get there. We land there, and he gets the team together, and he said, now this is about camaraderie. This trip, you know, it's an exhibition game, so we're going to play 4 or 5 games. We're going to travel from Sydney to Melbourne. It's going to be great, you know, educationally, but it's really for camaraderie, chemistry. We want to get our team closer together. We'd come off a sluggish year. So that was 10 o'clock in the morning. He scheduled a game for 8 o'clock that night. And after 30 hours of travel, he told the guys, get some rest. We'll meet at 4 for a little pregame meal. We'll play at 8. Well, we played against Andrew Gaze. For any Michigan fans in here, he played for Seton Hall when Michigan won the championship in '89. Andrew Gaze was a great player. They had a very good team, and we're playing our tail off, you know. And Judd was telling everybody, it's just an exhibition game, tells the staff, it's only an exhibition game, you know, we're going to enjoy this time. We were 5 minutes into the game. He was chewing on the officials, he was chewing on the staff, and he was chewing on the players. So as the game went on and we were playing pretty well, we were up. Our legs started going the second half. Now we're in a huddle with 3 minutes left. We lost the lead, and he's going crazy. I'm in the back with 2 guys that are now in the NBA, Jimmy Boylan from Grand Rapids, who's with the Bulls, and Jimmy Boylan, who played for Marquette when they won it all, is with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And we're in the back, advantage to being a little shorter is all those guys are standing there, Judd's in the middle, and I'm in the back laughing my tail off, way in the back now, granted, but making sure I'm far enough back. So all of a sudden I hear this, Tom! I said, oh, shit, I said, yeah, what's up, coach? How could you let this happen? I didn't know what I let happen. I look up, and he had a guy, Matt Hoffkamp. He had him kind of by the ear. And Matt Hoffkamp, this was 25 years ago, had an earring in. Wasn't cool for guys to wear earrings 25 years ago. Times have changed, but it wasn't cool at the time. And he had this earring, and he says, how could you let this happen? So I learned at an early age that anything that goes wrong in athletics isn't my fault. So I accept it a lot better now, but so we go back to the hotel, and he's mad, and he calls me down to his room, and I go in there. He kicks Bev out of the room, and he tells me, how bad of a job I'm doing, keeping track of everything, and I better figure out what's going on. So I go up to the room. Matt Staginga, who's now on our radio thing, Mark Montgomery, one of the greatest guys, both of them 3H students. I said, Monty, Stags, what's the deal, man? I said, Coach is going ballistic down there. Did you have any idea, Didn't you help the freshmen out? And they're looking at each other kind of sheepishly. And I said, what's the matter? He said, well, Coach had a meeting, and he told us all to have some camaraderie and togetherness, and we should, build a bond between us that's second to none. So we thought, how could we do this and please Judd? I said, yeah, what did you do? He said, well, we all went downtown and got our ear pierced. I said, we got 13 guys with a pierced ear? Monty says, yeah, Coach, and we had to hold Matt down. When they put that needle through him, he was yelling and screaming, and so I said, oh, boy, I got to go down and tell Judd it's not 1, it's 13, So I go down and I sheepishly knock on the door. I said, Coach, I got good news and I got bad news. He goes, what's the good news? I said, the good news, Coach, this team believes in you so much. And Judd, as some of you guys that know him, it's like, get on with it, Tom, and I'm trying to string this thing out, They love you. They listened to your speech. They heard what you said. Get on with it, Tom. What's going on, Well, Coach, they believed in you so much that they all went downtown and got their ears pierced to show some camaraderie, and I'm going on. As I'm saying another word, the door slams. Swear to God, true story. So I go back to my room, and, he lets Bev back in the room, and get up the next day. I'm in the bus, and here comes Bev. All the players are in the bus, and everybody's down in the dumps. We're in Sydney, Australia, supposed to have the time of our life, and everybody's scared to death, including me. So I said, Bev walked in. I said, hi, Bev, and everybody's, had their head down and hi, and here comes Judd walking in, and he's got 2 of Bev's clip-on earrings on, And I always use that story because I say if Judd Heathcote can adjust to the times, should be a piece of cake for all of you, And those are some of the things that I did learn from him. He had the ability to laugh at himself. He had the ability to be human, When Tim and those guys used to come over, I'd say to them, it was one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned. In 87, I think it was my first year, we didn't have a very good team. And they were talking about firing Judd. And all this talk was going on, and there were reporters that, back then I read the paper. I don't do that anymore. I learned a lesson. But back then I read the paper, and they were talking about firing him. And, when practice is over on media, whenever it's press day of each week, at the end of it, the media comes down and talks to him and talk to the players, and he's got his arm around guys. He's telling those jokes he used to tell that I've heard a million times and all that. And I sat there and I said to myself, I was a young assistant, my first year full-time here, and I said, how can he be friends with these guys that are ripping him morning, noon, and night? So, I feared Judd, I'll be honest with you. I was scared to death of the guy. So I said, Judd, can I please ask you a question? I said, why would you wrap your arm around that guy and walk off the stage or walk off the court and be so nice to him when he just told thousands of people you should be fired. And he said, listen to me, son, you better understand that in life that everybody's got a job to do and everybody's got a boss. And you better figure out that sometimes people do things that maybe they don't even want to do, but they have to do because of the job they have. And you know, I think, I'll ask Tim, but I think I've had an incredible relationship. When you think 22 years with the media, there's always some fights that go on, but I've had a great relationship with him because I've always listened to what he told me. And I think it's the same for you in business. You know, I'm sure you get mad at people. I'm sure you got things you go through, but everybody's got a job to do. Everybody's got a boss. And that means that there's going to be differences. And so this day and age, when I look at what we're going through now, you know, in our country, and from everything from the anthem to what's happening in college basketball, what's happening with the equality in our country, I look at all these things and I think, man, I wish I had Judd around to tell me how to handle some of them, because he always had the right answer. And as crazy as he was brilliant. So if any of that helps you, I would say you're going to be better. I want to tell you a couple things I do, and then I want to open up some questions. This thing with the relationship. How many of you spend time with your employees? When I said I'd go back to the grease monkey pit, or when I said I'd go back to the paint shop, you know, part of it would be to learn that employee's name, to learn how many kids he has, to learn if he's married or not married, because it makes a difference. You know, in this day and age, we don't have much time for anything. We're too busy. The kids are too busy because they spend right now an average of, according to the experts, 7 hours a day on their phone. That's what the average college student, the average college athlete, wanting to hear about himself, is probably spending 10 hours a day on their phone. So we don't have a lot of free time because I don't follow anybody on their phone, okay? But I got to listen to my staff worrying about what my guys are tweeting and saying on the phone, so I don't have as much time. But making time for the people that are important for you, making time for the people that help you make money, help you become successful, don't forget about those people. Those are the most important people of all. And I said that now it's been 21 years ago, my life changed when I was going to get fired. I was probably listening to Tim's radio show with Tom Crane on our way to the Burger King, because didn't have as much money to go to a good restaurant then, and I was the head coach, and he was one of my assistants, Brian Gregory. And we're in the car, and talk radio was talking about when I was going to get fired, not if I was going to get fired. And I had one of those come to Jesus meetings where I brought everybody in my office that day and talked about all the things that were going on, and told them I need some help. And for those of you that are in a union, you might keep your job, but for probably 12 of the 18 people in the room, if I get fired, you get fired. And it kind of changed as I went around the room and told my secretary, who was my sister-in-law, which is a bad idea if anybody's thinking of doing that. If you're thinking of hiring somebody, don't hire your sister-in-law, but she was already my sister-in-law before I got married. So, I mean, she was already hired before I got married, but she says, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, at 4:55 or 59:30 every day, there's a set of starting blocks that pop out of the floor. You get in them, and at 5 o'clock, you're out the door. And she had to say, yeah, you know. I said, I need more help. I need you here on some weekends. I can't pay you overtime. I need you here at nights. I need you here for recruiting. I need a little help. And I don't think that went over big, but she said okay, and I went right down the list, and I told everybody on my staff what I needed. I got to Ray, my janitor. I said, Ray, I bet you wonder why in the hell you're in this meeting. He said, Tom, I was thinking about why in the hell am I in this meeting? I said, well, you're in this meeting because we had a brand new building. It was 6 years old at the time. And I said, they lock it up like Fort Knox. My guys can't get in it. I'm on the road a lot. My assistants are on the road. We're such a bad shooting team, you know, that our best offense is the missed shot if we get a rebound. So we got to get some shooting in here. And I need you to jimmy that door open. You got the 4 to 11 shift or whatever, because my guys come over after study hall and shoot. I said, I promise you nobody will get involved and we won't bring other riffraff in, but I need you to jimmy that door open. And he says, you know what, Coach, I'll do that for you. Which was taking a chance, because liability, you know it is. Any lawyers in the group here? You guys were probably chasing my guy around trying to wait for an accident or something. But anyway, so we had that meeting, and after that meeting, we went 18-5. We were 4-3 going in. We won the Big Ten championship, and in my era, we were off and running. It wasn't because of what I did. It was because of what those 18 people did in that room. And I hope I have the only university where my janitor has a national championship ring, but 3 years later when we won it, he got one. And so I would say that's the other thing, you got to make your people feel that they're part of the organization, not an employee, not just a punch my card person, and that's what I do with my players, and I hope that's what I do with my workers, and I am positive that I wasn't responsible for getting in the Hall of Fame, they were. And that's the cool part about it, when you realize people are helping you to achieve things that nobody thought you could achieve. And Magic has a great line that we use every day at our place. It's great players play great, but elite players make other players play great. Well, if you look at it in business, a great boss should do his job, but an elite boss will make sure other people are coming. We have two kinds of people, if you ask me. We have the kind that are, motivated or not motivated, and we have the kind that can self-evaluate and those that can't self-evaluate. I think it's very difficult, if you're not a good self-evaluator, to be a boss. And I think it's very difficult to be a good self-evaluator. And if you're not a good self-evaluator, why would you motivate yourself? You already think you're great. So I would look at all these little tidbits. I hope they go into business, but I'm looking more forward to asking you if you got questions that I could answer, because there's a lot of things going on in my profession right now. There's a lot of things going on in my team. And that's sad, because this week, there's people getting indicted today. And I'll have to answer questions about that at my press conference tomorrow and next week at our national press conference out in New York. And, this week, we won a pretty important football game. And it's kind of, for me, I got all these other things going on. And this week, I got one of the best teams I've had here, because I got very good players. I got very good guys. I got very good students. And I got guys that get along. Now, that might seem strange, but that doesn't happen very often. So when people say, do you got a good team? I said, I do got a good team. Is that going to put more pressure on you? Yeah, it is. But last year, I didn't have as much pressure on me because we weren't as good. It wasn't as much fun as I thought. So you got pressure? Bring it on. I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna use it to my advantage, and I'm gonna try my hardest to do something I've been trying for, 16 years now. And that's bring this place a second national championship. In my era, a third in Michigan State history, and that's kind of the goal. And I don't mind saying that's the goal. And every day, I'm gonna work towards that goal. So, got some good questions. I'd be more fun to answer them. Who's got one? Yes, sir, Ralph.
You talked about player coaches. Who do you see, if anybody, to be a player coach like the team was?
Yeah. I've had some great player coaches, and that's what he's asking. Mateen was my first and best. I had a kid named Travis Walton who was really good. I had a really, Draymond Green was really good at that, and Denzel Valentine was a pretty good player coach. But I got maybe the best I've ever had in my little guard, Tum Tum. He's just not my best player. He's probably my 9th or 10th best player. But he's got a heart of gold. I mean, my biggest chore is when he's done, I got to keep him here because I don't want to lose him. And he has kind of taken his team together, and it's odd when your best player is not. But he's made Miles a better leader, and now Miles is really stepping up. So I got a lot of guys, and a lot of it is because of Tum Tum, not me. So he'd be the guy that I think kind of controls our group. Yes.
Thank you. When it comes to recruiting, I'm curious to know how deep do you get involved in that? And what I mean by that is, are you going out to high school games yourself and watching players? Are you spending time on film? How do you go about that?
Well, the difference between Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, maybe Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, Carolina, and I've always said, you know, we're at the tier right under them. And some people that might make you mad, but even though, you know, like Kansas, we've beaten them more than they've beaten us, but Duke has beaten us like a drum, you know. But the big difference is, can you select or do you have to recruit? We have to recruit. And yeah, I'm out. I mean, I've never missed a day of the summer. We're allowed out like 30 days in the summer. I don't think I've missed one day in my 23 years. And that is a necessity here. I learned real early, and I bet you all of you would agree as you have different employees, better players make you a better coach. Better employees make you a better boss. I promise you that. So I'm always looking for good players, and I think a big part of my job is doing that. Now, what I've learned, I learned something from football last year. I learned something from some things I went through 5 or 6 years ago. You better find guys that fit what you are, who or what our community is, and who and what our university is. You know, you got to find people that fit into your style. And not everybody fits in here, and that's okay. But I don't worry as much of the rankings. I worry more about the people. Denzel Valentine was barely a top 100 kid. He's going to go down as a great, great player here, you know. And you saw where Gary Harris just signed a big deal the other night, and I called him to congratulate him. It was $21 million a year for 4 years, $84 million. I called him to congratulate him, and then sent him on a text how he could donate to the Izzo retirement fund. So I did that too. But you know, recruiting is still the main part of our job, and getting those relationships is key. So you got to do that by being out. You know, I know some of you got to do it, but I just can't even imagine hiring somebody or getting somebody over the internet, you know. Wow, couldn't do that. Chris is getting nervous, so that means there's one or two more questions. Yes, Jim. I'm sorry. Yes.
As a leader, how do you flip the switch as well as you do? I happen to be, over the holidays, we deliver a free lunch to your staff and the women. And I came out of the women's side and just happened to be walking out. And you ran into my partner, myself, had a great conversation with us just about nothing. And then
I'm good at that.
Well, no, but then 2 minutes later, I find out you threw Lucas out of the gymnasium. So how can you flip the switch that well as a leader?
Another thing I learned from Judd, you know, I did throw him out of the gym, and I caught a lot of heat for that. I mean, that's why I hate the social media. Because I've thrown many players out of the gym. I mean, you know, one here, one there, but a reporter kind of tweeted it and called his mother, and God, that created a lot of problems for me, you know. Haven't changed, though. Still throw guys out of the gym. I try to get a more unique way of doing it, I guess. But, you know, any player that doesn't meet the expectations that he made for himself, it's my job to hold him accountable. You know, it's not what I want. I try to make sure I sell that every day. Tell me what you want, not what I want. I know what I want, you know. Miles told me why he wanted to come back. I just said, great. But I said, a lot of guys that come back, they're going to screw up in school. They're not going to, they're going to be on easy street now, just enjoy the year and then leave. And I told him, I said, I am going to push you to be way better than you were this year. And he said, that's what I want. That's why I got a good relationship. We want the same thing. Cleve's taught me more than anybody, because back then when I was a rookie head coach, my first year, him and I used to get into it on a regular basis. And he was from Flint. I was from the UP. And he must have told me 100 times, man, you don't know where I'm from. You don't get what I'm, he was insinuating I was some white guy from the UP that hadn't realized yet. We didn't have the internet yet. We didn't even have TVs up there yet. And he's from big city of Flint, which was booming. And finally one day I got so sick of hearing it. I said, Mateen, I really don't care where you're from anymore. I heard it. I understand it. Love your family. I said, I care where you want to get to, because I got a feeling you and I got more in common than you think, because I want to win a national championship and get you to the NBA. What do you want to do? And I swear to God, that end of his freshman year changed my life on how I deal with everybody. And I think it changed our relationship, and hell, I named my son after him. He named his son after me. So all good right now, I wish his to turn out to be a 7-footer instead of a short guy like him. But other than that, it's good, So listen, Chris is getting antsy over here, but let me close by saying this. I tried to hit on a couple things that I thought have made us successful. The accountability right now in our whole country, to me, is a little shaky. But we're going through a little bit of a tough time. And tough people are the ones that succeed during a tough time. And I would say, don't change who you are. Don't change what you believe. Make the adjustments you have to. For you guys, wear your wife's earring, once in a while. Make sure it's a clip-on, though. And, for you women, figure out what you got to do to adjust to the times. But all in all, Tum Tum's got the best line of all. Every day of practice, we start practice with, we don't have to be here, we get to be here. So our chant now is, we get to be. And that is a hell of a line if you think about it. You guys got the opportunity to do something different if things are too tough. But you do get a chance to do what you do. I get a chance to make an impact on 17 to 22-year-olds. And I'm going to take advantage of that every day I can. So I appreciate this community because you've stood by me through some thick and thin. I appreciate the community because I sell it a lot. It's an easy place to sell. You're a blue-collar group. You're getting more like Youpers. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but you really are. You're caring people that you have an appreciation. I appreciate it. And Tim and Chris and everybody else. So hopefully 10 years from now, well, I'm playing golf here, Alex, because I ain't going to be coaching then. So forget that stuff. Forget that 100-year stuff. But when I am, hope you'll invite me here as a, honoree. Once I speak 2 times, do I get an honorary degree from you? Huh? I get a free lunch. So hopefully I'll see you guys all again. Enjoy the year for yourselves and try to enjoy our year. But I think the one thing we'll leave in common, you try to win your national championship in business. I'm going to try to win my national championship on the court. Let's see how we do at the end of the year, both of us. Thank you.
Are you taking my... Wow. And by the way, that's the second standing ovation we've given here. in this series. You got the other one. Anyway, thanks. My dad had a great line for that. He always said he never saw a jockey that was good enough to finish the race ahead of his horse. That deals a lot with the talent that's around you. But thanks so much, Tom, for being out here. And Tim, you as well for spending your time, and Channel 10, and all of our sponsors, Dean Transportation, Greater Lansing Sports Authority, Shaheen Chevrolet. Ralph, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were going to take it on the chin a couple times here. Hungry Howies, Dom. Eagle Eye, Capital Region International Airport, and again, Channel 10. Our photographer today has been Dave Trumpy. This is something you want to know. He's been taking candids around as well as those snaps in the back, and they will be available on the MichiganBusinessNetwork.com site. And so you can go there and pick off any of the photos that you want. Just click on that piece. And Dave, thank you for all the good you do for us with all the events. Thank you, David. I want to have my guys stand up too. Tony Manji, Jeff Mosier, Mike Seibel, Carissa Geiger, where are you at? Okay, there you go. And these are people who work their tails off daily for the Michigan Business Network, and I appreciate the work that you do. You make me a whole lot better, and that's not easy. So thank you to my staff. Again, all this information and a video of the entire presentation of Tom's speech will be available on the MichiganBusinessNetwork.com. So we got a couple things to do here. We got a couple prizes to give out. The first one is foursome at the Majestic, and we pulled this out of the card file. Whoops. All right. Kevin Crawley from Sinair wins this. So you can come up after and get this, Kevin. Give a wave. All right. And then we've got a $250 travel voucher out of the Lansing Airport, right? Capital Region International Airport. And the winner is Vic Vishero, hey, from Farm Bureau. Vic, for the first time in your life, you can pay for your own flight. That'll be so nice. Thank you all for being here. We're glad you were able to share the message. And Tom, again, thanks for sharing it with us, being part of the community. Have a prosperous month, everybody. Look for our next outing, which will be the Future Business Index and also the economic forecast that'll happen in December? Yes, early December. Look for that. All right. Have a prosperous month, everybody. Thank you.